Hello, and welcome to Teaching Daily. I'm Wesley Stewart, your host, and today I'm going to be taking some questions about response to intervention. Now, let's get to the first question. Question number one is from William in Michigan. William says, I've been teaching math at a local middle school for 17 years. I recently learned that my district is adopting the response to intervention model. What is response to intervention? Hello, William. That's a good question. Let's start with what RTI is not. So, RTI is not a curriculum or a program. It can be used across multiple states or districts. RTI is intended to optimize instruction and the way that we serve our students. It's a process or a framework that can be used to prevent learning difficulties or respond to existing learning difficulties. Basically, teachers collect data from assessments. The assessments are usually given to all students, and they use this data to assign students to tiers, which dictates their level of the intensity of their instruction and sometimes group sizes as well. And then they use the data from the assessments to also develop the interventions. Okay, question number two. Question number two is from John in Minnesota. John says, can you explain the three-tiered model? My school is adopting RTI, and the three-tier model has a lot of teachers scratching their heads. All right, John, that's a good question. How about I go through each tier and explain what they mean? Tier 1 is evidence-based core curriculum that is given to all students. All students receive effective evidence-based instruction from the general classroom teacher. Tier 1 should meet the learning needs of the vast majority of your students. Tier 2 builds upon Tier 1 instruction by using strategic evidence-based interventions in areas where students may be struggling. Tier 2 supplements Tier 1 instruction. It does not replace Tier 1 instruction. The size of student groups are typically smaller in Tier 2, and instruction intensity may increase to help them catch up. As far as Tier 3 uses more intensive, evidence-based interventions for students that still lag behind who are in Tier 2. The size of the group is typically reduced to smaller sizes, and also tailored to their individual level. Tier 3 supplements the previous two tiers. Okay? Question 3 is from Leslie from Texas. And her question is, what are interventions, and can you provide an example? Hello, Leslie. That's an excellent question. Interventions are a set of evidence-based teaching procedures that are designed to maximize student achievement for all students in your class. Learning needs may vary from student to student. Interventions are designed to help respond to problem areas that you, the teacher, identify through your analysis. Interventions can be lessons, activities, or working sessions. Here's an example. I had a student that really struggled with reading comprehension. I developed an intervention to help this student. The intervention focused on building foundational skills such as word recognition, inferencing, context clues, and fluency. I work with one of my school's intervention specialists to implement these interventions. Okay. And our final question comes from Sam in New Jersey. Sam says, I'm a general education teacher from New Jersey. My school is starting to use the RTI framework to increase student performance. I'm working with a Tier 3 student who is very skeptical about the supplemental instruction. It's been very difficult for both for both me and the student, and we feel like giving up. With that said, I know he's very bright and has a lot of potential. Any advice? Well, Sam, that's a tough question. I would first suggest checking your data to make sure that the interventions are targeting problem areas for your student. This may even mean that you have to reassess your student. Also, it is important for you as a teacher to remain positive when you're working with at-risk students. When I find myself in this kind of situation, I think about a principle that I learned from a book called The Art of Possibilities by Zander and Zander. In the book, there's a principle of being present to the way things are, which means that though there may be things that are out of our control, that we may dislike, we want to be open to the possibilities that that situation can create. It reminds me of this great song by the Beatles called Let It Be. It's one of my personal favorites. All right, so that's all for questions today, but I'll be back next week. I hope you guys found this informative. Thanks. Have a good one.